there's a man by the name of Israel Ironstein, or Ironstein? I hope I'm pronouncing his last name correctly. But he has dedicated his entire life to helping women who have grown up in strict religious environments, men and women actually, go out there and date secular people. Now, this is incredible because I didn't grow up in an environment like this, but a lot of people do. There's a woman by the name of Sarah that he's helping out who grew up in California in the strictest Hasidic sects. And basically, she was told that she is not allowed to speak to people from other religions. She is supposed to do what she's told. In fact, she had never had a conversation with a secularist in her entire life until she decided that she would leave the religion. So she ended up being forced into a marriage. She had met the guy for an hour and then had to marry him. And it's a really sad story because she, the first night that they had sex with one another, she was so repulsed by it that for months afterward, she kept making excuses. She didn't want to sleep with him. She'd come up with excuses. He got tired of it, drained her bank account, and left her. That was when she decided, I no longer want to follow this religion. I want to be an independent woman. She got a job that she wasn't crazy about, but she saved enough money to move to New York and seek help from Israel. Now, it's incredible because you read about her story and how she goes to clubs and bars, and that religion has completely shaped the way that she thinks about herself, how she thinks about others. When she goes to a bar, she thinks that all men are going to be pigs and they're all going to want to sleep with her, which might be true, actually.
She's close to the mark, but...
But it's amazing how this indoctrination can shape the way that you view the entire world and how you view secularists, people who are not the same religion as you, people who don't believe in religion at all. Those people are demonized to the point where you're afraid to talk to them.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting that it doesn't just shape how she views people or how she views relationships, but how she views everything, basically. She thinks going into, these social situations that there are rules for everything. Like she says here, if I go on a date with him, won't I have to sleep with him? Or if I go out at night, don't I have to dress up? Like she thinks, because she was raised in an environment of very strict rules about basically everything that you do, that will continue now even once she's left the relationship. And I think that an interesting bit of speculation around that area is when there's talks about, say in Europe, about wearing like a hijab or something, other religious attire that certain women will wear, opponents will say that they're being forced to wear these. Some women on the inside will say, no, it's a choice that we made. But when we see how strongly the worldview of these women inside these very devout religions can structure how they view the world, at what point does a choice like that not really mean what we think it does? If she doesn't even know how to walk up to a stranger and talk to them without these expectations or what she thinks will be expectations, how does she make a choice about what she's going to wear around people who all expect her to wear a certain thing and different aspects like that?
That's an excellent point because she grew up in California, a blue state. And given the fact that she was in such a free environment, it didn't matter because her family had such strict religious beliefs that she was kind of raised in this bubble, and it really impacted all the choices she made in her life. But, I just find it fascinating what it would be like to break out of that bubble, pop out of that bubble, right? And go out into the dating world and experience new things. I mean, her story was fascinating, and I really think you guys should read it. It was published in Slate. And it's something that I can't relate to, so that's why I'm so interested in it. But I love that she was strong enough to go out there, find a job, become independent, and move to New York and do big things with her life.
I think one thing that I think is interesting about it is that while she has a particularly thick bubble, perhaps, she's been in a very small community talking to the same sort of people, I think that everybody has something like this. Look, I don't go to bars and talk to random people all that often. I probably would have weird assumptions about how that would go or how I should act. I think that everybody comes from a certain social and relationship sort of point of view. And that's why I think that this guy, Israel Eisenstein's job is so interesting. I could see it being successful with ex-Mormons, for instance. Or maybe in the future, after a couple more decades of people communicating almost exclusively through Facebook and Twitter and things like that, basically everybody who has no idea how to go to a bar and have a conversation with a stranger. I think that this sort of training is interesting.
It is interesting. And by the way, the social media and social awkwardness aspect of this is really, really fascinating to me because, I grew up having to have face-to-face conversation and communication in order to date. But now we're increasingly depending on, online dating, social media in order to interact with one another. And I was just having a discussion with my friend who's trying online dating, and she says, I realized after going on several dates that online dating is for the socially awkward. So you go out on these dates and you're thinking, this guy is so open and honest and interesting. You go out on these dates and it usually consists of this, like where you guys aren't really talking to one another because there's that social awkwardness. Steve?
Yeah, this article is very interesting because it really illustrates how isolating these religions are, because that's what they do. They make these women or young men, or whoever it may be, completely and utterly dependent on that particular social structure. So they could have the strength to break out of it. But once they break out of it, it's not like everything's fine now. They can just communicate and relate to the rest of the world. They're isolated. They're very alone. And even though they're in a big city and they interact with people, all day long, they don't really do it. And they don't know how to interact. And they're just in their own little bubble that they were in before, but now they're just in that bubble alone, which is often why they sometimes just go back even after breaking away, because they feel like there's no other alternative. So this guy, Israel Ironstein, is providing a really good service, but I also kind of, I'm a little bit suspicious of his motives.
You think he's trying to?
I don't know. He's got all these women who've never dated. They're like, oh, explain to me what to do.
He actually
what do I do with
says-
my hands? Is touching appropriate? And he's like, yeah, come over here. Let me show you how it's done.
I don't know. I don't want to. Come on, let's not slander him like that.
He seems like a nice enough guy.
He does.
I'm just projecting.
Yeah.
This is my new backup career, by the way. I can see myself going into this.
It seems.
If you know what I mean.
Yeah. Okay. Let's keep it PC, guys.
Okay, too late.
But anyway, what was I going to say? Have you guys noticed though that a very common component with fundamentalism is, always making sure that the woman is dependent, right? So she can't leave. And that's why this woman's story is so inspiring, I think, for people who did grow up in environments like this. Because even though she was left with no money, she found a way to become independent, go to New York, and do big things with her life. And that's what I really liked about the story and what I took away from it.